found out that there's a YouTuber here in Lemon Grove. And the title of his channel is Nature's Always Right. So I'm going to go visit Steve. And the fun thing is he's about 8 blocks away. In fact, his house is right behind my neighbor's daughter's house. Isn't it a small world? Well, I'm not going to drive and film, because you might know where he lives then.
Hey everybody, my name is Stephen Cornett and welcome to my farm. This is Nature's Always Right, and I call my farm that because I believe in doing things completely naturally, mimicking natural systems, and trying to create the highest quality, highest nutrient vegetables and fruit possible. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of show you guys around my farm and a few little techniques I use and some things I'm doing right now. Today is April 5th, 2018, so I'm getting all of my summer starts in the ground this weekend. So let's go take a look at some of my starts here. So here I've got my tomato seedlings. I start most of my seeds from what's called soil blocks. And a soil block is you basically make a soil mixture and you use a mold, and it molds these little literally a block of soil, and it punches a little hole in there so that you can easily place the seed in. So I've started them there, and then I potted them up to this. This season I'm trying a few different varieties. I'm doing chocolate cherries, Amish paste, and yellow pears. I've also got some cucumbers here, some marigold flowers, some other stuff. So here's a little mini flower bed. My wife takes care of this, and she just planted sunflowers. This is lupine. This is a really nice flower. It actually fixes nitrogen in the soil and has really beautiful flowers. What else we got in here? We got two flowers that I actually don't know what they are. They're some type of flower that my wife planted. These are California poppies.
This one almost looks like Dusty Miller.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not white, so it's not Dusty Miller.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know my flowers very well. I've got some borage here. That's another great, especially for San Diegans. It just does really well here. It reseeds itself every year. Brings in tons of bees. This is alyssum. This is really nice for bringing in ladybugs. It's a nice ground cover. I think these are cosmos. I think that's what they're called. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. Beautiful flower. And all along this fence line here, you might see that I have grapes. And there's even grapes that are starting on this vine right now. So that's pretty cool. And so I've got grapes and berries along the fence line. And
some escapees.
Yes. I've got random dill on the ground. But this is my first summer stuff. This is summer squash. So on the left here, I think this is it's a sunburst patty pan squash. And on the right is an Italian squash called coccozelli. And one of the techniques I like to do a lot on my farm, because I am trying to make a profit, of course, is something called interplanting. So you might have seen I have lettuce next to my squash. So a lot of times I'll combine a short growing crop with a long growing crop so that I can harvest the short growing crop first before the long growing crop gets too big and overtakes this whole area. In another 2 months, this squash will just cover this entire area. But these lettuce, I'll be able to harvest them in about 6 weeks, hopefully. They might be slightly smaller heads, but they'll still be great heads of lettuce. So now I'm getting, even more harvest out of these beds. If I just planted squash here, I don't get the extra $150 of lettuce that I could sell. So doing this is a great way to do it. You can do it with broccoli. I've done it with kale, potatoes, lots of different long crops. You can plant some short crops in there. Radishes are a good one to mix up. I could have done a row of radishes in here too, and then get a quick harvest. Then these get big enough, and then they take over the area. So check out interplanting, guys. It's a really cool technique. I have two videos. One of the videos is about how I made these garden beds, and I did that using a lasagna method. which is a really cheap but effective way to make fertile garden beds. So that video is called How to Create Fertile Garden Beds. If you search that on my YouTube channel, Nature's Always Right, you'll find it. And then the second video about these beds is about the irrigation that I use on them. So I use drip tape, I use 1/2-inch poly line, and I also use 1/4-inch emitter line on the flower bed that I just showed you. And that video is called Installing 3 Types of Drip Irrigation. And that might give you some ideas on some other ways that you can set up either your garden bed, or if you have a more farm style bed like this.
And save water.
And save water. So yeah, since we're in San Diego, water is our most important resource, and drip irrigation is the most efficient way to water. My water bills stay pretty low because I'm using this.
What do you consider low?
My last water bill was like $60 for 2 months.
Oh, mine was 109.
Well, just for my farm stuff.
Oh.
Not for the whole house and everything was like 170.
Okay.
All right, so here's all my girls, my chickens. I've got 5 different breeds right now. Barred Rock, Rhode Island White, Rhode Island Red, Black Jersey Giant, and Blue Wyandottes. And it's been really fun just to experience the different breeds and kind of see their different personalities and the different color eggs that they lay and all that stuff. So these guys are my soil creating factory. So about every 3 months I clean out the chicken coop, all the stuff on the ground, all their manure, and I pile it up and make a big pile and make compost. And the compost is one of the main nutrients that's feeding my entire garden.
Do you use anything else besides compost?
I also use worm castings, and I can show you that. Besides that, I do compost teas, I do worm teas. I have like 30 comfrey plants in the ground now, so I'm going to start doing comfrey teas as well. And I try to get like 90% of my nutrients I create on site. I do have a little bit of organic fertilizers, for helping growing during the vegetation stage and the blooming stage. I'm going to try that out this year. It's just feather meal and rock dust and bone meal. It's that type of
blood, bone, and fish.
Yeah,
thing.
That type of stuff. Other than that, the only other stuffs I really use is rock dust. I do use that just to supplement a little bit of minerals, because a little bit of that goes a long way. And then a lot of my nutrients and minerals is coming from my worm castings, so we could check that out too. Okay, so this is my worm system, and it's kind of a hybrid system. I've made it into something that's larger scale, but you could, as a home gardener, if you just have a small garden, you can do the same exact system, but just use one of my little modules here. So I'm going to show you one of the modules, and then they all link up together just to become a much bigger system. So this method is called the 3-tote method, and this is, in my opinion, the best. If you're doing a small-scale worm setup, it's the best way to do it. So down in here is where most of my worms are living right now, because they're still breaking down a lot of this material in here. And when they finish breaking up this material, it'll be just mostly their poop or their castings. And then when they're finished, I have up here a bunch of fresh bedding. And they're going to get hungry, and they're going to come up through the holes that I've drilled in here. You can see some of the holes. So they crawl up through here and they enter the top bin. And the result is that this lower tote is just castings and a few worms. Most of the worms go up to the next bin. So this method allows you to never have to separate the worms. And that's what I really like about it. And these are in a nice size, so I can just lift this up and I can take it to my bed I want to fertilize, or to the tree I want to fertilize. So it's really movable.
So it's all running into plastic on the bottom?
Yes. So earlier I mentioned that it's a 3-tote system. Well, the 3rd tote is this bottom. This is my 3rd tote. If you're doing this at home, you would just buy a 3rd tote that would collect all the water, the leachate or the juice at the bottom. But I'd made this because I wanted to have a multi-bin system, and it all drains to this one. So this saves me money, because I would have had to buy 6 more totes. And then I can collect all the tea at once in a central location, and it just drains out, and I can collect it in a bucket.
It's dry.
And I can, yeah, it's all dry right now. I just used it all. So then I can take those castings. It's instant fertilizer, or I can take it and then I can make an aerobic tea, where you aerate the tea, increase the microbiology in the tea, and then I can spray that on my plants to feed them through their leaves. It also provides like a protective barrier against bugs, and it's just providing like a probiotic and vitamin boost to the soil. So awesome. The worms are my favorite thing. My highest recommendation for any gardener is, if you want to increase the health of your soil, is start a worm system like this. And they're very, very easy to take care of. You know.
Just feed it every now and then.
Yeah, like, you know, once a month, throw some banana peels and a few things in there, and then every 3 months you redo the bin. You know, so 4 times a year, it's going to give you like the best quality fertilizer you could ever make. Okay, so here's the main market plot, the market garden area. So this is all stuff that I grow and I sell at the La Mesa Farmers Market or other local markets. I specialize in a lot of salad greens. So here you'll see tatsoi, which is an Asian green. It's called Asian spinach. It's excellent. It's super delicious. If you've never tried growing it, I highly recommend it. Especially if you've ever had problems growing spinach, this is very easy.
Is it heat tolerant?
Not so much. You can see it's bolting now. But it still tastes pretty decent when it starts bolting. It still tastes good. I've got radishes here. I do a lot of radishes because they're a quick crop and lots of people like them. This is a salad mix here. This is something that I add to... normally I make a salad mix that has about 10 different types of greens in it. And this is a salad mix, it's 5 types of lettuce. So you get a little bit of some different varieties, some nice texture and color.
So you do plant them in rows, not just broadcast?
Yeah, this is all done with a direct seeder called the Earthway seeder. And I planted, I think, like 9 rows here. So you plant it extremely thick, and then I have a little machine that helps me cut this, and it's called the Farmer's Friend Greens Harvester. That's how I cut all these very easily.
I saw that. That's neat.
Yeah, I have a video about it. This is 3 types of kale. So you can see there's a purple kale, this is Siberian, this is Red Russian. And that goes in my mix. These are beet greens. I like the beet greens are really tasty when they're in their baby form. They're really mild and yummy. So, here's like something I did here. I actually planted another row of beets here. I tried, but it just didn't, the germination didn't work very well. So instead of having there be an empty space here, I had extra lettuce, so I put a row of lettuce here, and it's developing pretty well. So now I'm still going to get a little bit of extra harvest. So I think this goes back to kind of the interplanting thing I was talking about. If you have backup plants ready to go, typically there's germination problems. You know, it's just hard to have perfect germination. So if you have some backups for your garden ready to go, it works out real nice because you can just kind of fill in some spaces with smaller, quicker growing crops. So here I've got some beets. There's an apple tree.
Hello, apple tree.
And you can see some of the apples on here. This is an Anna apple tree. They're super good for San Diego. They're a low chill apple.
Oh, and you got some more buds.
So yeah, it's doing very well. So I got Swiss chard here, some curly kale. I've got, this is a chard mix. This also goes in my salad mix. This is arugula. This also goes in my salad mix.
And an empty bed?
And, well, actually, it just started sprouting. So we planted this last weekend, and these are all radishes that are coming up. They're just starting to come up. And this last bed, this has got a ton of weeds in it. This is not good.
That's your weed bed.
That's my weed bed. But in the back there, I've got a little bit of radishes left. I'm going to sell the rest of those on Friday, and then I'll be redoing this bed.
And what kind of citrus?
This is a Valencia orange, and this is a Eureka lemon. So, I'm planning to, I rent this land, I'm planning in about 2 or 3 years. I'm not going to live here probably. So I wanted to give them a couple trees, the landlords a couple trees that they could have, and it'd be really nice in a few years when I'm gone. And in the meantime, it just adds more, it brings more pollinators in. Lots of birds like to hang out on these, and then they scout for little worms that they can go grab and eat. Last summer, all summer long, like I just watched birds come underneath the squash plants and grabbing worms. It just constantly. So birds are a big part of my pest. They take care of a lot of my pests. So I like to encourage my birds.
Except birds are eating my lettuce.
They are eating my lettuce a little bit too, but...
Excuse me, we're filming.
Yeah.
More lettuces?
Some more lettuce, and I'm gonna interplant. This is actually where my tomatoes will be going in this bed.
Ah.
And I'm gonna plant the tomatoes in between, and then the tomatoes will grow up tall, of course, right? And I'll be pruning them, so there will be a lot of sun that will be able to penetrate the bottom, and I'll get a small little lettuce harvest.
And lots of lettuce seeds.
Yeah, those all bolted. That bed didn't do so good.
Do you plant by the zodiac or the moon?
I don't. I just plant when I need to, when it's time. Thanks everybody for checking out my garden. If you have any more questions or you want to see more about what I do here or how I set up this garden, go ahead and check out my YouTube channel. It's Nature's Always Right. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. You can follow me on there. On Instagram, I'll usually do little updates about what I'm harvesting or what I'm taking to the market. So if you're interested in growing your own food, there's lots of fun little tips and stuff that I'll give you on those platforms as well. So thanks guys, and hope to see you around.